Swaddy Harp, and welcome to the Think Pink podcast, episode 4. We have a guest today. This one I've been looking forward to. Literally, we just got back in contact 2 weeks ago or something, and I was like straight away, "Want to go on the podcast?" This is going to be cool. I actually jumped on her podcast, what was it, 5 years ago or something, right?
Something like that.
And if you haven't seen it, jump on and Spotify and that Pink Man Where You Go. It was pretty good. I'll share the link anyway for that, so you can have a listen to it. And I'll pass the mic over. It's going to be a lot of shit for me to learn as well today, so it's kind of what it's about. You can learn at the same time as me. So, shoot.
Introduce myself?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yep, so my name's Briana Bowley. I'm a nervous system and high performance coach. In a nutshell, I basically support athletes and entrepreneurs to mitigate their stress responses so they can think clearer, perform better, whether that be, sports specific or whether that be around earning money. Yeah, that's the nutshell.
Yeah, cool. And your main clientele, would you say, is the sports side of it or the entrepreneur side of things?
It yo-yos.
It does?
It's funny, I work with a lot of athletes who are coaches. So
Okay.
it's both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. And with your entrepreneur side of things, is it sports specific entrepreneurial stuff or any sort of
Anyone?
Yeah.
I've worked with landscapers. I've worked with coaches predominantly.
Yep.
Coaches, like entrepreneurial kind of I've worked with a lot of network marketers.
Okay.
But a bit of everything. Plumbers, like you name it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're obviously deep into the combat sports scene. Mm-hmm. I met you through the Muay Thai scene, which you were into at the time, and now very much jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
Would you say combat sports is probably your main sport for like people to come and deal with you?
So my preference is like extreme sports.
Yep.
Combat sports being my favorite just because it's the sport I love the most.
Yep.
But I've worked with, motocross, downhill mountain bikers,
Cool.
skateboarders, like you name it.
Yeah.
I have done a bit of work with like Aussie rules footy,
Yep.
tennis, go-karting,
Okay.
like ping pong, like literally a bit,
Really?
a bit of everything.
Were they Chinese?
What's that?
Were they Chinese?
No. But yeah, I mean, the stuff that I love about more of your extreme sports and combat sports is that you're getting into more of like your body goes into your instinctual safety, like survival response.
Yep.
So like Muay Thai, you're getting punched in the face.
Yep.
Most people, they get punched in the face, they panic a little bit,
Yep.
right? So it's like, what I really love about the extreme sports is that there's like this life or death element.
Yep.
That really, you have to learn how to override your body's instinctual survival mechanisms in order to do well.
Yep.
Because it's like Nitro Circus riders, they put themselves up on on top of these giant ramps. If they lose their nerve, and so it's like your body is up there going, holy shit, like
I could be dead in about 30 seconds.
yeah.
Yep.
So you've got to be able to override that and mitigate it and still think clearly and move well and everything.
Yep.
So yeah.
I was always a bit of a pussy. Like, I probably would not have been out of place in today's world with what we consider men. But it didn't last long that way. Like I found it a natural progression to become mentally tougher, to deal with, because I used to get in there going, what the fuck am I doing here? And then it sort of just changed to out the back, I'd be getting my hands wrapped or I'd be sitting there waiting to go, what the fuck am I doing this shit for again? And then I'd walk out and there's people looking at me, I'm like, that's what I do it for, because I'm a show off. But do you find gender specific, who do you find deals with the stress better? Obviously differently.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I find men are more predisposition to, is that the right word?
Yeah.
To handle it.
Yeah.
Because
I think it's more natural for.
Yes.
Like,
so.
I think men are fighting their natural ways, because I used to get in there going, what the fuck am I doing here? And then it was soon, then sort of just changed to out the back, I'd be getting my hands wrapped or I'd be sitting there waiting to go, what the fuck am I doing this shit for again? And then I'd walk out and there's people looking at me, I'm like, that's what I do it for, because I'm a show off. But do you find these days
Yes.
to make excuses to be shit.
Yes.
Like, I think it's actually totally against what's in our genetics.
Yes. So I have slightly different ways of coaching men and women.
Yep.
Purely because men are more, testosterone, all of the different hormones that are higher
Yep.
in men than women, have them seek out challenge and struggle. Like,
Yep.
men thrive in struggle. Women, especially women who are very connected to their feminine, we don't do so well in struggle. Struggle actually can have us collapse, especially prolonged struggle.
Yeah.
So I always, like, for example, I had a conversation with one of my coaches back in Queensland around, there was one day where, like, I was on my period and I was going to go to wrestling. I really wanted to go and train, but I was like, I am knackered.
Yeah.
Like, I am just, like, I've got 10% in the tank.
Yep.
And I said to him, I want to come train, but just a heads up, I'm going to do the minimal. And his words were, and this is well-intentioned, but maybe a little bit just not taking into consideration the difference of men and women. He said to me, oh, well, so a good bit of struggle will actually, like, wake you up a bit. I just lost my earring. I was like, no, fuck no. Like, struggle for me right now is only going to push me further into feeling like shit.
Especially someone like yourself who knows how to deal with struggle.
Yes.
Like, it's, I want to move, I want to keep moving, I want to not be lazy, but the struggle is definitely what's not needed right now.
Totally.
And the thing is, for people to be able to make that decision for themselves, this is a big one I have. Like, some days people are like, oh, I'm sick, I'm not going to come to train. I go, how about you let me be the judge of that? Or, I'm not feeling too good, I had a shit day at work, I'm going to have the night off. I go, how about you let me be the judge of that you're feeling shit?
Yeah.
Like, if you get to the point in your life where you're like myself or yourself, where you actually know your brain,
yes,
you will know how to make that choice for yourself. But until then, I don't believe most people can.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
And that was the thing I said to my coach. I was like, I can absolutely understand, like, where you're coming from. And I've done so much work on myself. And this is ultimately, like, my field of mastery. I've spent the last 12 plus years studying this stuff. I know when I'm just being lazy. I know when I've got nothing left in the tank. And if I push myself past that, I'm going to get sick, or, I'm going to feel even worse. I know the times when, I need to get in there and just go hell for leather. So I think that is a massive element of it. Like, it's getting to know yourself and learning to be fucking honest with yourself. Because there are days where I'm like, you know what, I'm just being fucking lazy today.
Yeah, for sure.
And either, like, being willing to just accept that and be like, cool, like, I'm happy to just be lazy as hell today.
Yep.
And then there's days where it's like, no, like, I don't want to be the person who's lazy today. Like, I'm going to push myself. Yeah.
I suppose that's knowing that is really important, because especially when it comes fight day and things are going to shit, because that's one of the worst things for our sport, because it's such a lonely sport in there. Like, you have a shit day as a player on a footy field, and man, you got all the other guys. I don't even know if people play it. You've got all these other guys who've got your back.
Yeah. Yep.
And as a fighter, if you're having a shit day, you need to be able to flick a switch.
Yeah.
And that's where, you come into play, and your stuff you teach helps these athletes who may have just got in there and, for lack of a better word, shit the bed, and and giving them some, it's obviously small bits of advice, right? Little tools they can use to deal with stuff. What made you fall in love with that journey, with the wanting to do this?
I don't know if I can pinpoint one thing.
Okay.
It's kind of just been like a slow progression.
Did you learn psychology or something, or do you?
No,
uni or something?
Well, I've always been interested in psychology.
Yeah.
Like, coming out of high school, I was like, yep, like, I want to become a psychologist.
Yeah.
And then I actually looked into the constraints of, like, here's what you're allowed to do. And I was like, well, everything that I've learnt on the side, because, while I was studying psychology at school, I was also doing my own research.
Cool.
And so everything that I'd learnt over here that I thought was the shit that worked.
Big Pharma didn't have your head in control, did it?
Everything that I had seen work, I was like, that's out of the box. I can't use that.
Yeah, just give them more pharmaceutical. Give them more antidepressants and anti-anxiety. More Valium. More Valium. Yeah.
Right. And so
you're the Valium for the fighters. Like you're the guy who takes the stress away.
I'll take that. So it was really for me like not wanting to have to do it the way I was told I had to do it. I wanted to be able to pull on other shit. And so when I did bodybuilding, competitive bodybuilding.
Yep.
At the same time I was working as a PT, working predominantly with like weight loss clients.
Yeah.
I had this one client who'd lost 50 kilos. Gone from being, I think, 130 kilos down to 80 kilos. Wow. So like average size dude at this point, 80 kilos, you know, and got him on, his next goal was he wanted to be able to do a chin up. So I said, let's build up. Let's get you on the assisted chin up machine. We'll build up. And I said, jump on, like, let's start building on. And he was like, no, I don't want to get on that machine. I'll break it.
Oh, still had the...
And I was like, what? Dude, you're like 80 kilos. He's like, no, I'll break it. And he would not get on this thing. And I'm like, there's dudes who are way bigger than you jumping on this machine. But in his head, he was still 130 kilos.
Yeah, I've had that with... Do you remember Nicole that used to fight for me? Blonde Nicole?
Yeah, I remember the name.
She lost like... What was the numbers? 37 kilos or something to fight. And I remember... saying to her once, like, you're still obese in your head.
Yeah.
Like, you still believe that you're...
self-concept is still...
You still believe that you're what you used to be. And what made her quit fighting in the end was losing to someone who was the old her. She lost to a girl who was, like, much shorter than her, but, like, big.
Yeah.
And the girl was super talented. Like, she ended up being, like, nominated for, like, Breakout Fighter of the Year and stuff in the Muay Thai Awards and all that sort of stuff. But because it scared her, because it was, that was the old me. Oh my God, I can't lose to that person.
Yeah.
You can't hate the old you.
Yes.
Right? That's a big part of it as well, right?
Totally.
You just got to know that you're improving the same you.
Yeah. So seeing that in him, like seeing that his body had transformed, but his mind hadn't.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, there's a whole missing link here.
Yep.
And at the same time, I was going through the same, competitive bodybuilding, getting on stage at like 9% body fat, then returning to being like a regular looking person. Biggest head fucking, like just wild. And so it was like, I was kind of running this parallel of my own struggles with body image. And then also, seeing my clients go through it.
No better way to learn it though, right? Like in the heat of the moment, like when it's about you and it's about you who's wanting to better themselves, but also able to help other people. I noticed the same thing with, breast implants.
Yeah.
You're still a flat-chested girl, right? Like you still don't, you haven't. All you've done is now wear more revealing clothes. You're not actually more confident.
Yes.
You haven't changed what was actually, because it wasn't anything to do with your tits.
Yeah.
It was to do with how you felt about yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
I always say to clients, it's never about the circumstance. Like, it's not the circumstance you want to change. It's the way the circumstance has you experience yourself.
100%. Because it's still, at the end of the day, you're you.
Yes.
You're not changing who you are because of fitness or this or that. Like, if you're just that same person who, whether it be mummy issues, daddy issues, you're abused as a kid, you coming out of addiction, all that stuff. Man, if I despised myself for being an addict, that's why I'm being so open. I talked about it on your potty, like I believe. I'm so open about it because I don't despise that person.
Yeah.
Because it's still this person.
I love that that's something that you've taken ownership of because, one of the things, like I work with the fight, flight, freeze response, right? Yeah. Your freeze response is heavily, like that's like you shut down. So depression, like procrastination.
Yeah, that was me,
doubt,
it still
all
is
that
me
stuff.
to a point. And it's constantly a battle for me.
Yeah.
But I do it.
But that freeze response is heavily based around shame.
Because that's when you posted that a couple of days ago, right?
Yes.
Where you go one of two ways, either like my missus, where she won't stop cleaning the house and
overactive.
Overact, can't sit still.
Yeah.
She has to be doing something all the time.
Yeah.
Or total opposite.
Yes. Yeah. So that like I see so many individuals where it's like, oh, I'm just stuck. And it's like, no, you've just got a whole bunch of shame.
Yeah.
And the really cool thing about shame is that all it takes to shift shame is courage.
Yeah.
So like for you,
shame
around, addiction, the second you start speaking out about it and you start, and being mindful where you speak out about it, like being mindful to share in safe spaces where you're going to be received well.
Yeah, I don't give two fucks, but yeah, like.
Well, but you've built the body that can handle.
Yes.
But for someone who's maybe like newer to speaking out about this stuff, it's like that courage to share and then being received well, and someone like not making you wrong for it. Over time, the shame starts to shift. Like the quickest way to shift shame is to just like expose it, basically.
100%.
Like let it see the light.
This is why, like, I always say, like, I'm so open about it because at the end of the day, you can't talk shit about me because I've already talked it all.
Exactly. You can't shame the unashamed.
100%. And I had a guy working for me in the gym. He was one of my trainers who was still working at another gym as well. And that gym booted him. I found out through a third party because they didn't want their trainer associated with an addict. And I thought it was fucking hilarious. I'd probably still want to slap the dude when I see him for saying that shit, because what has that got to do?
Yeah.
Like it should be, I should be respected even more, the fact that I've turned my life around and changed that shit. And I was like, so old mate's a disrespectful piece of shit. I'll slap him. It didn't hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Man, I hurt my feelings enough over the years, like there is no hurt my feelings anymore.
Yeah.
So if you just own, this is what I say to everyone, just own your shit. Like,
exactly.
And if you have, everyone's fucked up, but depending on what level, and
exactly.
The level that I fucked up at isn't uncommon. So if I'm unapologetically me, unashamedly me, all the time, you never know who that's going to help.
Exactly, yeah.
And just being honest with yourself and not being ashamed that you fucked up, because that doesn't mean shit. It means you've learned a lesson, you're a stronger human for it, you now have another tool that can help other people as well as yourself.
Yeah.
And the minute, like you said, the minute you push that shame down, man, it's that closing yourself in, depressed,
and then
whatever.
It just weighs, like shame is the densest emotion there is.
Yep.
So like, like even last night I was watching a TV show and it brought up some stuff from high school that I'd done that I'd forgotten about, and I felt it. Like I was like, oh fuck, there's still some shame there around that. And it was like, the feeling was like, I just felt my whole body get weighed down.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, okay, there's some stuff that I get to work through there.
Yep.
Because
which is cool.
Yes.
Which is cool for people like us, I guess. We can put ourselves in the same box as far as like constantly trying to better ourselves. Yeah. That there is like, you're like, yeah, sweet, something new to work on.
I was like, dope. Like this is, because here's the thing, right? Like it was there whether I was aware of it or not.
Yep.
I was carrying that shame whether I was conscious of it or not.
Yep.
So the really cool thing was the second I became aware of it, was like, sick, now I can actually intervene, because we can't intervene in a world we can't see.
No.
If it's in a blind spot, it's there, but we can't see it.
And I understand that with people, because sometimes they don't realise what's holding them back.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, where do you start digging? Where do you start trying to find the gold?
Yes,
if it's
if
like,
you don't know.
it could be over there, it could be...
Yeah.
Something has to trigger you. And until that point, it's hard to even start fixing it.
Exactly. So as soon as I noticed it, I was like, cool. Like this is a chance to liberate myself from this thing that I've been carrying since year 11.
Most of my stuff was like I got mummy issues, and it's only been recent years where I can go out for lunch with my parents and I can sit down and talk with them. And for instance, I rang my mum. I was 10 years off of heroin a couple of weeks ago.
That's huge, by the way. Fucking hell.
Yeah, and I rang mum. I go, guess what? She's like, well, I go, 10 years off heroin today. She's like, should never have started it. And I was like, and that was exactly my childhood. It was, but it doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah.
And that would have bothered me probably even 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
When I was still battling that same dude.
Yeah.
But I just hadn't come to grips with it yet.
Yeah.
I was like, I actually laughed when she said it, because I knew it was going to be something and I always did just for a laugh anyway, but who my mum is who she is.
Yeah.
That she can't judge who I become She really can't. Like she done what I see now as her best job that she could as a mother.
Yeah.
Man, to someone else, mate, like to my brother, probably the perfect mother. Didn't know how to deal with someone like me.
Yeah.
I was always different.
Yeah. It's funny because that reminds me, because I had similar stuff growing up with Dad, where I felt like Dad would never give me the praise that I wanted. And so I rang him. A couple of years back, I won double gold in my very first jiu-jitsu comp. And I was so pumped. I text Mum. Mum's like, fuck, you're amazing. Like, rang Dad. And I was like, Dad, I just won double gold in my first jiu-jitsu comp. And what did he say back? It was something along the lines of like, oh, like, did you fight an armless, legless woman?
Wow.
Or like, did you fight a child or something like that?
Wow.
And it was a joke.
Yeah, but.
And I laughed, but I was like, I didn't get the praise I was looking for, and I've done enough work on myself that I'm like, that's Dad's way of saying well done.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And I'm that guy. I'm similar. Like the sort of shit I say to my fighters and whatnot. Like I had a guy win on the weekend by stoppage in the first round. I'm like, okay, you do realise that fight means nothing, right? Like it's next. And you probably wanted to get caught up in it for a while. You want to be like the superstar for a little bit, you know? But there's always the next step though, right? And some, like, I'm probably a similar parent as well. Like, I reward my kids. My son right now, he loves money. Like everything's money based, right? He wants to, so it's like, okay, last week it was the first time I've got to see him play soccer because I'm always away. And he was putting goalie, and he was shit scared of being goalie because Panna had taken him was babysitting him one day, took him to play soccer. He goes, oh, I'll play goalie. Panna kicks the ball, it hits like a bit of grass, bounce up, hits him in the face, first shot. Oh, no. And he was scared of being goalie. And then his first match, they asked him to be goalie, and he's like, nah. And then I was like, look, man, like, it's something you have to get over. Like, and then they asked him again for the next one. He's like, yep, I'll give you $5 a goalie save. So it's like, he'll never be scared of that again.
Yeah.
Like he knows, but there's also, it doesn't have to be monetary. There's still reward for, but I'm not going to say, oh, it's okay, mate, you don't have to do it. Because you do.
Yeah.
You're not doing yourself any favours by having fear of the next step in life.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
So you said, like, how long did you say you've been doing you've been 11 years, 12 years? 12 years. 12 years.
Yeah.
So fresh out of school as such, like, what was Briana fresh out of school like?
Fuck. I was probably, and it's this classic story. I'm such a believer we teach what we most need to learn.
Yep.
So I was the epitome of like, I'm there studying and in many ways teaching at that time all of the shit I needed to learn.
Yep.
So the version of me fresh out of school was, I was almost walking two different lines. Like I was that classic Monday to Friday, gym, fitness, clean eating, like count my calories, like Instagram motivation, like all of that sort of stuff. And then Saturday, Sunday, drugs, alcohol, binge drinking.
Literally the epitome of what probably 50% of young people do, and it's that talking a talk but not walking a walk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was talking the talk. Walking the walk 50% of the time.
50% of the time, yeah.
And then, but it was like there was, it was almost like there was there was two very distinct sides of me, and it was, a lot of it was that I hadn't really owned exactly who I was, because part of the reason why I kept going out and partying was because that's what I thought I needed to be to fit in. This was what I wanted to be. I wanted to be the person who's like getting shit done and, progressing and growing and,
But you're shitting in your own, shitting in your kitchen because it allows you to just be the person that most other people are.
Well, yeah, I mean, I still battle with this occasionally. It was that I didn't want to stand out. Yeah. Like it was like,
I find is the
safe.
Biggest, standing out is what I find the scariest thing for most fighters and stuff. It's
totally.
Like 50 Shades. he was so worried about being the best version of himself because you have no excuses when you're doing everything right.
Totally. Yep.
So
most people don't want to own their power because when they own their power, they're responsible.
yeah. Like me, like I'm, unapologetically me. And it's, man, I don't have an excuse when shit goes bad. If something happens, like my fighter fucks up, or man, it's on me. Like if they do the wrong game plan in a fight, I made that game plan.
Yeah.
Like, and if I was still the old me, I probably would have had an excuse. I wasn't, I was out of shit fight prep because my head wasn't with it when I was trying to get him ready for this fight and stuff. Man, I don't have that choice anymore.
Yeah.
It's scary, so scary that it's exciting, that it makes things even better, more rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah? So you're originally from here?
Yeah, sort of in between Adelaide and we had farming property, so...
Okay, whereabouts?
York Peninsula.
Oh, cool, nice. Whereabouts in the Yorks?
I can never fucking say it. Waruka.
Waruka, okay, cool. Yep. Me and my son have an annual, either the week before or the week after his birthday, we go over to Yorks and just spend a week, or spend like maybe 3 or 4 days living in swags.
Yeah,
like
so nice there.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Stunning.
Yeah, still one of my favourite. I mean, I've travelled a lot and it's still one of my favourite places.
Yep. I love it too. So you got into sport, you were sport young, that sort of thing. Did being an elite athlete, was that your goal? Did you want to be an elite at anything in particular?
Not really.
More moment stuff, like I want to do this now and I want to do as good as I can right now. And
yeah, I mean, to be honest, like when I did the bodybuilding, that was largely, I mean, as I said, I was working with weight loss clients, and I consistently had clients say to me, like, you don't understand what it's like to diet because you've never been overweight. And so I was like, well, fuck it, I'm going to go do the most extreme diet I can so that I do know what it's like. Because they're right, I don't know what it's like to diet. I mean, I was at a stage in my life where I could eat, Macca's for breakfast, lunch and dinner and still be, like low 60 kilos,
Yeah.
And so, I was like, well, let's figure it out. So I did do this like ridiculously extreme diet, and map it out. And so with the bodybuilding, I think I did it more for the experience.
Yep.
I did, after doing my first one, I did start to get hungry to do well.
Okay.
So I did my second one, my second season of fitness modeling. And then after that, I was like, this isn't really my thing.
Yep.
When I found Muay Thai, I had every intention of getting into fighting and actively competing. But then at the same time was when really working with athletes kicked off.
Yep.
And so it was like another fork in the road moment of like, do I want to be an athlete or do I want to coach athletes?
Yep.
And I'll be honest, that they were very much like...
I was too. Like, except for the start of my career where I actually thought I was going to be a world champion. Most of my career was me wanting to coach people, but just wanting to learn it all.
Yeah.
Do it the hard way to learn it all. And,
yes. Yeah. So I would kind of like the scales would kind of shift slightly, and I'd have moments where it would be like, no, like I definitely want to be an athlete. I want to be a fighter.
Yep.
And then.
Yeah, I remember those talks. I remember you talking about you reckon you'll fight at some point.
Yes. Yeah.
What got you into Muay Thai then? Let's go to that bit since I'm a Muay Thai guy.
So I was, when I was bodybuilding, I was running a boot camp.
Yep.
And I remember, because again, I was on this hardcore diet plan. And so I would come in before boot camp sessions and I'd be there with my, broccoli and salmon or whatever. And I started noticing my clients coming in with like the same kind of food. And I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, you have every food under the sun available to you and you're choosing to eat what I eat. And
monkey see, monkey do.
Well, and I started to kind of go, oh, like I'm their role model. They're copying what I do. And not to say what I was doing was wrong, but it was just very...
It was right for you.
Yes, but it was very within a box. There was no freedom as such. There was no freedom of choice. And so seeing my clients do that made me realize that I'm modeling to them what fitness is. And I didn't entirely agree.
Yep.
Because I knew the behind the scenes of what I was navigating.
Sure. Yep.
And then I remember, because I would push my boot camp clients hard, like they were fit because I made sure they became fit.
Yep.
And I remember watching them during this one session, and I was like, this one client stood out to me, and she was a little bit on the heavier side, but I remember going, fuck, she just goes and goes and goes. Like, she is fit. And she was one of the ones who was really copying the diet that she saw me eating. And I said to her, I was like, dude, you're a monster. And she's like, I'm just striving to be as fit as you. And I was like, oh, you think because I look like this that I'm fit? She could have ran rings around me. And it pains me to admit this a little bit, but I was giving them these hardcore workouts. So I wouldn't have been able, I was too depleted. I wouldn't have been able to do them.
Yep.
And so I kind of made the decision then and there that I was like, after this comp, I'm actually going to be what I claim to be, or what people think I am. So I was like, right, I want to get fit, like not just look fit, I want to be fit.
Yep.
And so I hated running. So I was like, I'm not going to use running as my cardio.
Yep.
What's something that I can do that's actually fun? And so Tom Bowles, I was friends with Tom Bowles at the time.
That's right.
And so I reached out to him. He just
messaged me the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Got someone, what was it? I can't remember if they were going into state or overseas, but they were looking, he was trying to look for a gym for someone. Yeah.
Yeah. Tom and I think I was doing PT with Tom, just in general then. Yep. And this was before Tom had his first fight. Okay. But he was, very much like actively PTing with like kickboxing kind of stuff. Yep. So I just started training some kickboxing with him because it was fun and it was a good way to actually build my cardio.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I just got obsessed.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I got to that point where I was like, well, do I want to fight or do I want to coach fighters? And I yo-yoed. And in the end, I just noticed that even when I was training for myself, it was still leading me back to, I was training to better understand my clients.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I'm really honest with myself, this leads to this, not the other way around. So,
So, did you just train with Tom then? Did you train with anyone else here in Adelaide?
I jumped around a little bit. So, like, I was training with Tom as my main trainer.
Yep.
And then as I started, I guess, becoming more well-known here in Adelaide in terms of the work that I was doing. Yep. Like, I trained at Boars quite a bit because I was working with a lot of the Boars athletes. Yep. Trained at Redstar quite a bit because I was working with a lot of the Redstar athletes. Trained at Cardioflex a bit because obviously Tom was down at Tom and Reese were down at at Cardioflex.
Yep.
But cool. I bounced around, and then of course because I was traveling a lot as well, so I just kind of jump in wherever I could. Yeah, cool. Whoever would take me.
Yep, sweet. Yeah, I love that though. That's the good thing about Muay Thai though.
Yeah.
You're always going to find somewhere. There's always home.
Yes.
There's always home somewhere.
Yes.
I can go anywhere in the world and literally just walk in and be part of a family somewhere. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So then you moved to Queensland.
Yep.
What was the motivation behind that other than shit Adelaide weather?
Shit Adelaide weather. Fuck, I've been freezing since being back here. Oh my God.
No doubt.
It was a mixture. If I'm really honest, I don't know if I've ever actually admitted this before out loud. I got fucking fed up with the combat sports scene because I really...
Tell me about it.
Yeah. I really I'll admit, when I was doing this mindset kind of nervous system stuff, going back 6 years ago, as the industry as a whole, not just Adelaide, it was like, what? Mindset doesn't affect Muay Thai. Like, mindset doesn't affect combat sports. So it was very much an uphill battle to get people to even fucking listen to me.
Yep.
Take into consideration as well, I mean, this is 5-6 years ago. I was, 25?
That's a hard one. A 25-year-old female?
Yes.
Trying to coach...
Yes.
The same age or older, especially men or...
Yes.
Even other women. Like, there's a lot of ego involved in that where it's like...
Yeah.
What the fuck would she know?
Yeah, and I would have people come up to me at fight shows.
That was my first opinion of you.
Totally, yeah.
Like, who the fuck does she think she is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Simon from Redstar has said the same thing. And it wasn't until there was a match up between one of the girls I was coaching and one of his girls and his girl was known for like knockout punches.
Yep.
And she got a knockdown on one of the girls I was coaching, and my girl stood up and just shook it off. And I think she went on to win the fight. And Simon, I vividly remember it because Simon wouldn't give me the time of day before this point. And he came up at the end of the fight and he shook my hand and he made eye contact with me. And I was like, okay, something just happened there. That's interesting. And then the next day he's like, anytime you want to come into Redstar, pop in. And and we've been good friends ever since.
Yeah.
And,
he's a good guy.
Yes.
So that's the reason you're in Adelaide right now, right? To do the a seminar at his place?
Seminar at Redstar, yep.
Unfortunately, this will be out after it's taken place. But what's the seminar, what's the build-up of? What's it made of?
Yeah. So in a nutshell, we're looking at the fight, flight, freeze response.
Yep.
So Simon's opened it up so that it's not just for athletes.
Yep.
It's for gym goers, for business owners, basically general population.
Yep.
And we're looking at how your fight, flight, freeze impacts how you show up.
Yep.
So like in a nutshell, if you don't feel safe to do the thing that you want to do, you're going to self-sabotage.
Yep.
I prefer the term self-protect.
Yep.
But you're going to self-sabotage. So if you don't have a reference point of, if the goal is to be a world champion,
Yep.
if the goal is to be a millionaire, if the goal is to be a mum, whatever the goal may be, if you don't have a reference point of what that's going to feel like, your nervous system says it's not safe.
Yep.
Fuck that.
Which is what, in life, what anxiety is.
Yeah.
Like anxiety is that not feeling safe with what's happening in the future.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I saw something you posted, I think it was yesterday, where it was, if you don't feel safe, don't. How do we, as a trainer, how do I attack that when it's on fight day?
I love that.
Because I've had a fighter pull out on fight day.
Yeah, okay.
And just do a runner. Like,
Ooh.
yeah, like that was it. No, they never fought for me again.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
I think the post you're referring to was if you don't want to, don't.
Yeah, if you don't want to,
Yes.
don't. That's the one. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's layers to this. So first of all, and you and I have spoken about this prior to hitting record, it's that thing of like, people have to learn to get really fucking honest with themselves. Like I've made the mistake and I do this
You don't
work.
just have that feeling on a whim where
Yes,
it's like, oh my God, I don't feel safe doing it. You've thought about it for months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for example, I had my very first blue belt comp last year at Queensland State Championships.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it. My well-meaning coach pushed me to do it.
Yeah.
I did it. I fucking hated every second.
Yeah.
I got sick. Like it was so funny. I signed up. The next day I woke up sick.
Of course you did. Yep.
And so the lesson for me was like, you didn't want to do it, Bree, but you overrode what you knew was true for you in order to please your coach.
Yes.
So there's an honesty piece here of like, be real with yourself. If you don't want to do it, don't fucking do it.
Do you know how much I love when someone tells me they don't want to fight on the show? Oh, can I have a break? Can I not fight? Can you leave me out for the next show?
Yeah.
Or come to me, oh, don't book anything in advance. I don't know where I'm at with this, whether I really want to continue with it. I've only ever had a couple of guys who have really spoken to me about it in advance. And do you remember Luke Holland? He broke both his arms in 2 different fights.
Fuck.
But he had his first fight, fought a bit of a jelly bean, absolutely flogged him.
Jelly bean.
Yeah. And then he went like 3-0, but his third fight broke his arm in the first round.
Okay.
But when it was coming up to his second fight, I'm like, oh, Pride's coming up. You want to get put forward? He goes, look, man, hold off on it. Let me get through this one to see if I actually want to be doing this or not.
Yeah.
And then got through that one. Pride was only 2 or 3 weeks later, and we took a fight like, I think 7 kilos up on his weight class, and that's where his arm got snapped. Like, he won the fight, but he snapped his arm. And then came back, had another couple of fights, and snapped his arm again. Snapped his other one, yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah, but that being up front, I've struggled. That's one thing I struggled with 50 Shades, just the lack of telling me where he's at.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it's most people can't admit it to themselves, let alone admit it to their coach. So that's the
they're admitting it to themselves, but it's just over and over in their head, instead of going, this is the logic behind it. This is what I'm feeling. This is why I'm feeling it. It's just like, oh God, I don't want to do this, and I don't know. don't want to have to fucking deal with it, and instead of dealing with it.
Yes, exactly. So, you know, in that, like in the larger context, it's getting honest with yourself. In the kind of more honed in, nuanced context of like someone bailing on fight day, anytime so our fight, flight, freeze response is like, it's this instinctual survival mechanism.
Yeah.
So we know that whenever it sounds like flight in that context, they literally did a runner.
Yep.
Whenever that pops up, it's our system telling us, I don't feel safe. And so what a lot of people do, I use the analogy, it's a fucking terrible analogy, but when you're trying to train a dog, what a lot of people do is they punish the dog when it doesn't do what they want it to do. If you punish a dog enough times, it's either going to get to the point where it's just so afraid that it's backed into a corner and it won't do anything out of fear, or it bites.
Yep.
Which is your fight, flight.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
The best way to train a dog is to like reward them when they do well. So like if you're trying to teach a puppy to sit, the second the tiniest little bit of that puppy's fur touches the ground, like you feed it a treat.
Yeah.
Like, yay, like good puppy.
Yeah.
And the puppy goes, hang on, okay, I did something well there. I mean, no, you do not kick the puppy. But that's what humans do to themselves, right? Like, oh, I'm afraid to go and fight. Fuck, you know, we beat ourselves up for it. And then it's like you're kicking the dog. The dog's either going to fight, you know, like bite, or it's going to like back off in fear even more. So there's like this, I always say, if you're going to have high standards for yourself, you have to have high levels of self-compassion.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if you're kicking yourself every time you don't do what you want to do, you're just going to push yourself further into stress.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're like, oh, you know, in that context with that athlete that did the runner, and this is more so their job, less yours, right?
Yep. I kind of felt that because it was never communicated to me.
Well, that's
if there was
it. You're not a
communication,
moderator.
then if there was communication, everything that was being said was being done.
Yes.
Putting in, everything to me seemed great.
Yes.
And now I could probably see it. I'm way more experienced as a coach.
Yes.
But like I said, like Jason, the first time he has a proper fight prep, because his thing was he'd only lose when he didn't have a proper fight, when he'd choose to do shit in training. That one time he has a proper fight prep and the outcome isn't how he is used to it, that'll be it. And it was true.
Yeah.
The last Pride, he had an injury going into it we didn't know about until the night.
Oh, fuck.
And got stopped in the first round, and that was it, pulled the pin.
Yeah, yeah.
And he trained it was his best fight prep ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's that, even like you said before though, the I don't feel safe, flight, you know, like, do you want to do a runner? It's not necessarily, you know, a fighter, they don't feel, not that they feel unsafe as in, oh, I'm going to go in there and get hurt. It can be also, what if I don't win?
Yes.
Or what if I'm not the champion? Or what if people see through to the insecure little boy that's inside me?
Well, that's the thing with combat, and this is why I love combat sports and extreme sports. The truth of the nature of the sport is that you're probably going to get hurt at some point.
100%.
Whether, you know, you like for me, jiu-jitsu, dislocated pinky, you know, like little things like that, or whether it's like, oh, you get your ACL blown out or
and
whatever.
You're never unbeatable.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
And everyone, like, then the person who is seemingly unbeatable, there's Daniel that's in the RWS tournament. He had his first loss last year. I think he went 39-0 or something, or something like that. Or maybe I think he lost his 41st, something like that, something ridiculous.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, is this going to be the loss? Like every show, is this the fight where he loses? Is this the loss? Is this when he's going to, like, fuck? Like, then you're dealing with that outside pressure as well of all these people almost cheering on the loss because no one wants to support the winner.
Yes.
No one wants to. This is a big thing in Australian sport, and a lot of people talk about it, that no one wants to be on the side of the winner. Everyone wants to.
It's that tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah, tall poppy syndrome is massive in Australia.
Yeah.
Massive. We're such a sporting country, but sporting supporters are scum. It's like, it's bad.
Yeah.
Like, I love when people are doing their best.
Yeah.
Like if someone's a fraud, I'm telling you you're a fraud.
Yeah.
And I'll tell the rest of the world that you're a fraud. But when there's people like right now, we talk about Sam Goodman at breakfast. And I'd say his amateur team's doing better than mine. And I've been around for fucking ever. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. Like I'm proud of him.
Yeah. Yep.
Doing great. Like me and my gym and Strong Heart, we're the two gyms with pros and we fight on the biggest shows, and it's probably it's us two and Boars. We fight on the big, like, there's Roots or Rebellion or whatever, and those sort of shows. And man, if they're doing good, awesome. Like fantastic. Like Jordan's got a way bigger pro team than I do. I've got a big name and I've been around for a long time as a trainer. He was obviously a fighter and he's more recently a full-time trainer. But that doesn't mean that I'm more important than him or whatever, Like I support everything he does.
Exactly.
And he supports everything I do.
Yeah.
And that's probably why we get along so well, but also why if someone leaves my gym to go to his, it doesn't bother either of us.
Yeah.
Because we do support each other and we both know what our own strengths and weaknesses are.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like people just need to, honesty. Honesty is number one, right? Honesty with yourself, honesty with your trainer. If you're feeling like shit leading up to a fight, you need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Just you're beating a dead horse if you're just lying to yourself saying, no, I'm feeling amazing, I can't wait for this. Or you put all the bullshit on social media. It's like, man, so prepped for this fight. This might be my best fight, but has it been?
Yeah.
Has it been?
Exactly.
Because if it hasn't, you don't have to say it.
Yeah.
Does everyone need to see your training every day? Probably not.
Yeah.
Do people care? No. They'll act like they do. They'll blow smoke up your ass, try and make you feel like a superstar. But is it really changing what your mentality is? Because at the end of the day, it's your thoughts.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I think that what you said there around like the tall poppy syndrome and all of those sorts of things, like they're the main things that I'm working with people through.
Cool.
It's not, and even with business, like it's not, when it comes to combat sports and those sorts of things, most of the time it's not injury, like occasionally I have someone who come in and will say, like I did my ACL at a comp years ago, I have this fear of competing now.
Yep.
But that's easy to shift.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it's for people actually, like I said it earlier on, owning their power.
Yep.
Or risking standing out or being misunderstood.
Yep.
Or, having too many eyes on them or those sorts of things, because it is, like you said, people go for the underdog. They don't want to see the person at the top of the hill stay at the top of the hill.
No, for sure.
And I actually I'm a little bit, like, don't get me wrong, I love seeing a good underdog win.
Oh, for sure.
But I fucking love when someone is so dominant that everyone starts to think they're unbeatable. Like I remember when Matty Stevens had that run where I think he was like 12-0 or
16-0. He lost his 17th, I'm pretty sure, yeah. Actually, and I literally, when I was waiting for you to pull up behind my car down here, I was on Messenger with the coach of the guy that was his first loss.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
But like I remember watching Matty, have that like run of successes.
Killer run, yeah.
Like fuck yes, the amount of with every win, the pressure on him mounts.
Yeah.
And I remember, and this is obviously a much smaller stage than Matty's situation, but I remember for me, like going through when I had my double gold win as a white belt, my very first jiu-jitsu comp, I was like, oh fuck, was that a fluke?
Yeah.
Now I need to back that up.
Imposter syndrome.
And it was like, fuck, like, what if I can't back it up? And, like this was like small scale stuff. Like no one even fucking noticed my double gold win, like it's that small. But it is that thing of every time you win, the pressure gets bigger,
And the pressure's only created by yourself.
Well, yes.
Like, at the end of the day, what other people think, what other people feel, what other people talk about, it doesn't really fucking matter, does it?
Exactly.
Like,
but that's, I think it's like when you can handle the pressure and still keep winning, that's someone who's fucking killing it.
That's
I think,
Roger Federer, that's
yes.
Nadal, that's who is it now that's doing all the winning? Is it,
I don't know.
Whatever. Like because that, one of those sports, man, tennis is one of those extreme, like what you put your body through, for one round of a tournament. Like, I think it is one of the most extreme sports you can actually do.
Totally, yeah.
Like, you won't catch me watching it. I'd go watch it live, but you wouldn't catch me watching the sport. But what people put them, and all that time you have, you're playing for hours on end. What thought processes can go through your head in that time? When you're 2 sets down for a 5-set match, it's like, what the fuck? Like, that's tough.
Yeah. Like, I think of, and I would guess you're probably not a fan of him, but I think of like Conor McGregor when he went when he went through his big run of like doing really well.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I look at him and I'm like, that is someone who knows how to mitigate stress and someone who knows how to own their power, because he's on a world stage, he's doing well. A lot of people hate him, you know, and it's like...
Can I give you my counter argument to that?
Sure.
I think he had the fight in him, but I don't think he handled it well, because that's why he probably went and got on the rack and stuff, and why he probably was setting himself up that if he did lose, he had a reason in his own head.
I think my take on Conor is that he's done a lot of innovative things for the industry, and so I feel like it was like what we were saying at breakfast. You've got to have your next level. Yeah. And I think for Conor, I think he was heavily money driven, which that's not a bad thing.
No, for sure.
Once he got the money,
didn't know what to do with it.
Well, and it's like, okay, well, what's next? And so I would say Conor is not a fighter anymore. He's a businessman.
Yep.
He's an incredible businessman.
Yep.
He's not an athlete. And I think what I'm seeing from him, I don't follow him closely much anymore, but the bits and pieces I have seen, I feel like he's not being honest with himself.
Yep.
That he's trying to fit himself back into the box of being a fighter, but the driving force that had him be such a phenomenal fighter is gone.
It was like the Mike Tyson thing as well. He was another one. And
yeah.
It's very common, because at the end of the day, for lack of a better description, fighting is a poor man's sport.
It is, yeah.
And it's a broken man's sport. You'll see so many people, they fight like absolute animals while they're broken, and while they're... The minute they start loving themselves, like, I couldn't fight ever again.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't get in there and actually want to maul someone's face, because I don't have the hatred anymore. And more so the self-hatred. I don't want to put myself through the pain of being in there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's largely why, and I'm not knocking anyone who loves Muay Thai or any striking sport. I do think, for me, this is my personal journey.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason I stopped Muay Thai. Because as I started, because I think the reason why I started
Muay Thai... This podcast ends here. No,
no, I think for me, part of the reason I started Muay Thai was there was a level of self-hatred.
Yep.
And then it was like, I still love fighting. I love all forms of fighting. Like, to me, I love it because it's a fast-paced chess match.
Yep.
And like I said, you've got to train yourself out of your instinctual survival mechanisms. But for me, it was like, as I got to the point where I'm like, no, I want to do this for the love of it, not for the hate of myself.
Yep.
I was like, I don't enjoy getting punched in the face anymore.
Yep.
So I'm going to do jiu-jitsu where I don't have to get punched in the face. And now even like, you ask my coach and he'll be the first one to say, I dodge a hard roll.
Yeah.
Like, if I have the girls who are like super competitive at my gym come up and ask me for a roll, I'm like, no, thank you. I'm going to go with the ones where like I can just cruise.
Yeah, cool.
Because I'm like, I don't...
Like you said, you don't want to do the competition side of things. It's not your thing.
Exactly.
You're about bettering yourself in your knowledge, in your what you can do with your body.
Yeah.
Not so much the glory that comes along with winning and all that sort of shit. Yeah.
So, like, I'm not saying that anyone who likes getting punched in the face hates themselves. But
you do
for me,
not many silver spooners do well in fighting.
Yeah.
That's the clear... There's not very often that someone comes from money, comes from, a well-to-do household with straighty 180 parents. It's not very often that happens. Like, my parents are nerds. Like, they don't...
Yeah.
I think my dad might have a glass of wine once a week or once a fortnight, like... But I'd created so much self-hatred in myself that Muay Thai was my way out of that.
Yeah.
And I found my way out of it. And I found, like they say in Thailand, for instance, the translation is roughly like when you get a wife, your career's over. Because all of a sudden you start having some love and you start having some other goals and you start, if your goal isn't, originally your goal isn't to just be constantly developing as a human and to change your future in general. Like once you get to where you think your goal was, you're pretty much...
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're pretty much done.
Yeah.
And you can see it overnight. A good example for me, do you remember Corey Smith? He was with Jordan for a bit. He was from Melbourne. Oh, yeah, she was originally from Adelaide, trained and fought in Melbourne for a long time. Then he fought Kim Johnson on Knees of Fury.
Yeah, I think I know you.
He's one of them. Got a missus, had a kid, tried to fight again and just had no mongrel left in him anymore. He's just getting there and just clinch people till they couldn't stand up anymore.
Yeah.
And then that just went.
Yeah. Yeah.
Self-love.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like I was the same. Like I had, when I was training a lot of Muay Thai, when I was training bodybuilding, I had that dog in me. Like I had that fight. I don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I'm much more like grounded and like I'll logic my way through things.
Yeah.
And the beauty of jiu-jitsu is that a lot of really good jiu-jitsu athletes are very, like they're chess players.
Yeah.
It's the beauty of the sport.
Yeah.
You can play it that way and still be like a really good athlete.
Yeah.
But I certainly, in the right circumstances, I can tap into a bit of the dogfight. But I don't want to know myself as that person who like struggles my way through everything. So
you know what I found also as an interesting one is men have kids and they start losing the fight.
Yes.
Women have kids and they fight for their kids.
Yes,
like,
the lioness comes out.
Yeah, like it's mum strength. So Corey's missus, she's just retired recently. She started fighting after having their kid and it was crazy. Like she was a weapon. Like just had that fight in her.
Yeah.
It was crazy, like just how different the opposite sexes are. And that's why, you know, whether we want to get political with it, why it's so important that men and men compete, women and women compete.
Yes, yeah, we're totally different.
Totally different.
Yeah.
And there's no place for a crossover.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing chess or something, then there's no room for crossover at all. And you can't, man, it doesn't matter who you think you are. At the end of the day, biologically, you can have kids and everything that goes on in a woman's body is revolved around that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everything that goes on in a man's body and brain and whatnot is the whole, I've got to be the breadwinner.
Yeah.
Like that's, now most people are checking out, they're not even trying to do that anymore. But I think it comes from the crossover.
Yeah.
And in sports especially, there's no room for that.
Nah.
None.
Well, this is something that I really preach in my work. Like, I mean, as women, when we're coming into combat sports, we are coming into a male-dominated industry.
100%, yep.
And it's becoming so common now. Like, women's jiu-jitsu is taking off like crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
But sadly, and whether this is ignorance or whether this is people being stuck in old ways, I think the women are trying to come into a male-dominated sport and act as though they're men.
Yes, but not just sport.
Yes.
The world.
Well, yes.
The world.
And it's so sad because it's like you're losing the thing that is actually going to have you thrive.
I love the fact you're saying this.
Like if you want to perform well as an entrepreneur, as an athlete, be a fucking woman.
Be a proud woman.
Yes.
Do you find also then the other side of that is men
expect us to be...
No, men feel worthless now.
Well, yes.
Men have lost their value
yes.
because what made a man,
yes.
women can do now,
yes.
supposedly.
Yeah.
And women are like, oh, but men aren't being men anymore. Yeah, we've been forced into this situation.
Men don't know where they stand.
They don't know where they stand because if you try and be like me, like an unapologetic man, like, man, I will tell my missus to cook the kids fucking dinner. And she's going to, okay, yeah, no worries, because where I'm lucky, like one lesson my mum taught me was find a woman who knows how to be a woman. And I'm not like, get in the fucking kitchen, bitch. But, the kids are hungry, like,
Yeah.
but I'm happy to help.
Yes.
You want to, you've had a hard day, do you want me to cook something tonight? I ain't doing that every day. But the thing is, it's like, women, all they do now is bitch about how soft men are and the men aren't doing their job and blah, blah, blah. Man, it only started when feminism started.
Yeah.
Because men knew who men were before that.
Yeah, totally.
And this is an important thing, I think, for women to recognise, and my hat goes off to you for the fact that you can actually sit here and have this conversation without getting defensive. Because at the end of the day, it's facts, right? And there's more depression, I think the two main factors in male depression are that, not knowing how to be a man anymore, because being a man is meant to be toxic now, supposedly. And the other thing is, let's get onto this subject, instant gratification. Like my description I used for instant gratification was when I was 12, 13 and playing with my willy like there was no tomorrow, if I wanted to have a bat, I either had to get a magazine and imagine what that chick in the magazine would be like, or I had to wait for my parents to go out so I could get the VHS that I've got hidden under my bed out, put it in the VHS, quickly have a bat, and then clean myself up before my parents come home.
Yeah.
Now it's like, phone, okay, I had a bat, boom. There is no...
Yeah.
Or get online, message some chick on Instagram going, quick route. Like there's no...
Yeah.
The how easy it is to do the one thing which gave man value, which was courting women and trying to find a mate or whatever. That is like that now.
Yeah.
And people spread their seed like it has no value at all. The toxic side of unlove-filled sex is another one of those things. It is so bad for you.
Yeah.
The energy transfer that happens during sex should only be with the one you love, because then they get your energy, which then you work together to build and be better as a couple.
Totally.
Man, coming from someone who fucked his way through Southeast Asia, but was so unfulfilled for it.
Totally.
Oh my God.
Totally.
Like, to the point where I don't regret much in my life. Like, all the drugs, I probably regret that more than the drugs.
Yep.
Because of
I hear that so often.
How much energy I gave to women who I didn't even know. Or just because I knew they were into some dirty shit, it was like, like, that's not who you want to give your energy to.
Yeah.
You want to give it to someone like my missus. She deserves every bit of energy I got. Not that she gets much of it these days, but getting old. But yeah, like there's so many factors, right, where men now, I think men need to step up and be men again.
Yes, I agree. I think like and don't get me wrong, I'm not a feminist. I think the feminist movement needed to happen from the perspective of allowing women to have access to
100%.
bank accounts and
100%.
basic
but I don't think
human
that's
rights.
I don't think it was, because feminism was started by a male who, it just happens to be the same pieces of shit that control the world, and it was made as a let's ruin family situation.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that there's lots of single mothers, and because men are never good enough and that kind of stuff. I think if it was done right, it would have been done with, there would never have been a feminist thing. It would have been nothing but equal rights.
Yeah.
And equal rights, there has to be boundaries, because at the end of the day, 1 in a million women can do a man's strength work, whereas 900,000 in a million, a man can do it. You know what I mean? And then, man, so many things you guys can do that we can't, because you have the cooler mind.
Yes.
You think things methodically. Good luck a man doing any of that.
Yeah, totally.
And then you got the men who are trying to be the women, and the women who are trying to be the man, and it's just so fucking confused. And no one knows who they are anymore.
Exactly. And that's the thing. The feminist movement went way too far in the sense of like, then it became a competition of like...
That's right.
Like, and it's crazy because it's like, hang on, like feminism was about like women being in their power, but having women in their power through trying to be more like men.
Isn't it ridiculous?
Like, what?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
That's exactly, this is the exact fucking joke that's been made of it though.
Yeah.
It's like, someone like me, I know how amazing my wife is. Like, I can see any woman trying to be the best version of himself is an amazing thing. Any man trying to be the best version of himself is there's no competition.
Yes.
The competition is a manufactured thing, like depression, like all these things. The system has created this competition between men and women.
Totally.
And it's at the end of the day, it's devalued both, because the most important thing in this world is family and being able to create it.
Yeah.
And I think the motherhood thing has been so devalued to the point where feminism, okay, sweet, women can work now, great, double a lot of taxpayers. All right, kids get into a daycare, you're getting brought up by some stranger who does Christ knows what to kids to create another broken generation.
Yeah.
I think people just need to get back to figuring out who they are individually and not trying to just fit into some box that's been created by some rich guy.
Well, this is the thing. Like I grew up the only girl amongst all guys.
Yep.
I worked with footy clubs, like male footy clubs.
Yep.
So I got used to being the only female in the room. And for a long time I was like, oh, I need to be more like that to fit in. And then I'd get pissed off because I wouldn't fit in because I wasn't a man. And so, or I wouldn't be able to keep up in certain aspects or whatever. And then I'd get burnt out, and then I'd get bitter and resentful, and men are pigs, all of that. And then, like, as I started to kind of realise what was happening...
Be a feminine, proud female.
Yes. I have it play out all the time. Like, even now I work in a community of men. So we run a men's self-development community. And I'm the only female in the team of staff, as well as the actual community of everyone that we're supporting. And there's certain jobs and like opportunities that I'm like, no, none of you guys can do this. This has to be me.
Yep, that's fair.
There's certain elements that, when men need support with certain things, I'm like, well, you guys can't do it. It has to be me.
Yep.
And there's dynamics that play out at jiu-jitsu. There's dynamics that play out amongst my family, where it's like, no, this has to be me, because I'm the only one. I'm the only one that can do it because I'm the female.
Yes.
And it's like you could try to do it, but.
And a lot of that comes from the nurturing side of being a female.
Yeah.
The mothering side of being a female.
Exactly.
Which is a natural process for women.
Yeah.
Which, man, hats off to you.
I mean, I think that's part of the reason why I'm so good at what I do for work.
Yep.
Because
I totally agree.
Like men will admit things to me and they'll say, I've never told anyone this, because they feel safe to.
Yep.
And they can't do that with a man, because there's that, that kind of underlying like warrior, testosterone led, like there's a natural resistance to vulnerability there.
Yep.
Whereas with me, they feel comfortable.
Yep.
And so, I think, like, if I was still trying to play the game of like, I'm going to try and be a man, I miss out on all of that.
And that's probably where men are so used to that these days, that when you come into a situation and guys are like, oh, fuck, here we go. And then they soon realise that, oh, she's actually comfortable being a woman.
Yeah, yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah.
And it was probably why my first judgment of you was, it was like, oh, here's a fucking another one. Like, I am woman, hear me roar. Nothing like, but are you?
Yeah.
You're like, are you doing women stuff to be You know, like, because there is women's stuff and men's stuff. Are you doing the woman thing, or are you just trying to shoot the man down?
Yeah, that's it.
Huge amount of that in Muay Thai.
Yes.
With, I think, just like females trying to prove themselves too much.
Well, and it's that thing of like I always say, and I see this all the time with men and women, like women trying to strip men of their power and men trying to strip women of their
100%.
power. And I always say, like,
it's shit both ways.
Yes, and I'm like, if you have to strip someone else of their power in order for you to feel powerful, you're not powerful. You're fearful.
Yes.
Like when you're fully anchored in your power, you don't have to sit there and try and like cut other people off at the knees. It's like, no, like you rise, I rise, like wicked.
Yep.
You know, and so that's the thing. Like as soon as I see someone trying to, you know, like have someone else step down from their power, it's like, oh, you're scared.
Yeah, I'm like that as a trainer. Like if someone, like I said before, if someone's doing good, I'll support them all the way.
Yes.
Then there's the ones who are actual just pieces of shit who I have zero support for. And they're probably the ones who are sitting there going, oh, it's because he thinks I'm doing good. You know, it's like I don't think there's a lot of people out there who are as honest as I am. Like if I think you're doing good, I don't have to like you. If I think you're doing good, you're doing good. If I think you're a piece of shit, I'm not going to support you.
Yeah, yep.
If I think you're not doing good and I think you're a piece of shit, I'm probably still going to say, I'm doing surprisingly good. You know, like, but I think people are still going to try and, because the masses do the whole, they just shoot people down because they're insecure.
Yeah, totally.
I don't have anything to be insecure about. Am I the best? No. Am I the best in South Australia? Yes. Like, do I have more knowledge than most people in the Australian Muay Thai? Yes, I do. Do I put it into practice the best? No. Well, I'm learning. I'm learning like everyone else.
Yeah.
I've been a standalone full-time trainer for just gone 8 years since I've had my own gym. And man, I'm way better than I was back then. But have I got a long way to go? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Owning my shit.
Yes, and that's it. That's the key. It's owning it.
Yep. I reckon, is there anything else you want to speak about? Any other subjects? 'Cause I think we've covered a lot.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
We bounced around.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. I like, as I spoke to you before we got on air, I don't do scripts and I don't do written questions and I don't have a plan. It is what it is. And sometimes I'll start asking a question with no idea where that question's going. And I think that's what makes my style of podcasting or interviewing or conversing a little bit different. My brain, you know, I'm good at off the cuff sort of stuff, but no, I've really enjoyed having you on here. I think there's a lot for a lot of people to take in and listen to and try and understand and know that at the end of the day, it's on you. You're making the choices for you. And where does everyone find you on socials? Give that one. I'm going to put the links below.
Yeah. So just Briana Bowley, Briana Bowley.
Yep.
And Instagram, Facebook.
Yep. And you just inbox you or whatever.
Yeah, just shoot me an inbox or whatever.
And I'll post something today. When's you got the thing tonight or tomorrow? At Redstar.
Redstar Saturday.
Oh, Saturday. Okay, Saturday. Sweet. So I'll post something over the next couple of days for that as well, advertising it. Do they get in contact with Simon for that? Or
yes, so book through Simon.
Yep. Beautiful. Awesome. I want to thank you very much for coming on and
thank you.
Come to my humble home, and next time you're in town we'll do something again.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Kabun Kap.